Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This evening I'm going to be doing another movie review. This movie is an action thriller from the United States, English language, released in the year 2019, directed by Sam Levinson, and this film is called Assassination Nation. So Assassination Nation takes place in a very quiet town. You've got four teenage girls, they're best friends, they hang out at school, they talk about boys, they talk about people they don't like, all in the confines of safety of the internet, basically social media. Social media is these girls' life support system. They can't live without it. So whether it's complaining about someone or whether it's talking about a boy that they like, they're just doing typical teenage things in today's society. But unfortunately, one day there is a hacker that comes about. Not only does this hacker leak the information that these girls have been talking about for everybody to see, but basically the whole town is affected by this. Whether it's the mayor or the police force, everybody has a secret that has now come out in the open. It's basically telling you that the internet is not as safe as we initially give it, as we initially think it is. And so this has a devastating effect. A lot of people, some people kill themselves, and a lot of people are angry about who this anonymous hacker is. But then all of a sudden that anger starts to go towards these four girls because they believe that all these problems started from what these four girls had been talking about, that I'm not going to go into. But now these four girls have targets on their head. Basically, the townspeople have gone completely insane, and they will stop at nothing to get justice, even if that means killing these girls. So the night is about to go from bad to worse for these four teenagers, and their friendship is going to be put to the absolute test as they try and fight their way out of this. So whether or not they can is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Assassination Nation. After listening to that synopsis, you're probably thinking to yourself, this is a completely stupid film. And initially that was my first thought process. I thought, I'm not even going to bother watching this movie. It looks like a silly teenage film. What's the point? And it didn't really give me any reason to watch it. But then I thought to myself, alright, well, okay, it looks very well made. It looks very violent. And so I thought to myself, well, maybe there's something in this movie that I was missing in the trailer, and maybe it's going to actually surprise me. And at the end of the day, I will say that I was very surprised that I enjoyed this movie as much as I did. And this is a prime example of not treating a film based on what the trailer looks like or what the actual synopsis looks like, because this is a much more serious movie than you would actually think. Is that on the outside you have a very exaggerated movie. You got these townspeople who all of a sudden overnight have gone completely crazy and they want to kill these four teenagers. And so you think to yourself, alright, well, this is a caricature world, this is cartoon violence, this is something that would never happen. And so, yes, that is true, is that, these people do act in very outrageous ways, but on the inside, what it is a symbolism for the culture of social media. And this is what I like most about this film, is that it's actually very intelligent, is that it's giving you something to be very entertained by. The characters are larger than life. There are some villains in this movie that I thought reminded me of The Purge, in that they were just really colourful, and so the caricature nature of this movie actually gets you into the film, and it prevents it from ever being boring. And so the vibrant colouring, the cinematography was excellent. There's some very explicit dialogue as far as sexual themes are concerned, so it's definitely a much more hardened sort of version of a teenage film. There's some violence in the movie that was actually quite shocking, so I actually like that. And I just like the overall descent into complete madness. Basically, the situation has just fallen out of control, and it's just every man for himself. And so I thought the whole town just turned into an absolute chaotic battlefield that I was actually enthralled to actually see how these girls would actually get out of this predicament. But as I said, on the inside, these townspeople, yes, very unrealistically, they've lost their minds, but it's basically the mob mentality as far as social media is concerned. Whether it's someone who's voiced an unpopular opinion or someone who's just done something that we don't like, and so we attack them. Is that, when I say we, I just say in general, computer users, whether it's keyboard warriors or social justice warriors, basically attacking someone because they have a different opinion to ours, and they're basically assassinating their character. And so Assassination Nation is appropriately titled for this film, because that's what it's trying to give you. It's trying to give you the input and give you the social relevance of how destructive social media can be. Is that a lot of us rely on this, and so it's basically you can destroy someone's life just by what you're actually saying. And so I thought, alright, well, we are the mob, and these victims, these four teenage girls, are those people who dare to be a little bit different and stick their head out from the rest of the pack and voice their opinion. And so whether we agree or disagree, we should respect them for their opinion, but we don't do that. And so whether it's someone, we hear a story about someone, we take that as the actual truth, and we don't actually see any other point of view of this story. And so how dangerous that can be is that we jump to conclusions, and those conclusions can be barbaric, and then all of a sudden we realise, alright, maybe that's not the truth. And so this movie does that very well, in that, okay, these townspeople are blaming these girls, they're attacking them without really getting to the base of what this whole situation was about. And so it goes hopelessly out of control. And it just goes so far over the top of the violence that I actually laughed at a few occasions. It's very darkly humorous, but it's just that overwhelming sense of exaggeration that just puts you in the mood of something that is a lot of fun. But at the same time, you stand back and you say to yourself, okay, well, how am I going to actually judge people online? And am I part of the mob, or am I one of these four main characters? And so that was really smart. As I said, you got a really entertaining film, but on the other hand, you've got a socially relevant film that can actually make you think and discuss it. And so I thought that was good. And also the privacy on the internet. How secure are we really? Is that, all right, well, this information, where is it going? Yeah, you talk about someone, you think to yourself, okay, well, no one's really going to see our conversation, but when it's put out in the open, all of a sudden, all bets are off, and then, basically, it's chaos from that point on. A lot of people, whether it's celebrities or, pictures of celebrities, they get leaked, and all of a sudden, their life has changed. And so the battlefield is social media in this movie, and it's just a symbolism as far as a visual sense is concerned of this outrageous sort of event that has taken place in this town. And so it's a very well made film. It's a lot more serious than I actually thought it would be. On the outside it is very exaggerated and completely silly, but on the inside I thought it was all a symbolization of how basically social media is, and how it's the law of the jungle, survival of the fittest, and how negative and destructive that can actually be. And so if you're like me and initially you dismiss this movie as just another silly film, then I would definitely say go out there and give it a chance, because it is actually a socially relevant film. And I thought that the violence is very hard hitting. There's some, as I said, sexually explicit dialogue, so it is a much more sort of hardened version of a typical teenage film, but it just has a purpose there that I really wasn't expecting. And I actually thought the end was quite decent as well. And so there's not a lot to dislike about the film. It's not a masterpiece. It's not a movie that's going to win any Oscars, but it doesn't really try to win Oscars, but it's just trying to give you an insight into social media in a very fun and creative way. So if it sounds like your kind of thing, definitely go out there and see it. I'm going to give Assassination Nation 3.5 stars. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.